Imagine casting your fishing line into the ocean and pulling out something far more important than a fish. That's exactly what happened one quiet morning in New Zealand. But to understand the miracle, we have to rewind to the day before. A young family arrived at a peaceful beach campsite. Jessica and Josh had been craving a break from everyday chaos. The ocean breeze smelled like freedom. Warm sand stretched across the shore like nature's welcome mat. Their toddler Malachi loved the beach instantly. The little boy sat between his parents staring at the endless waves. It was the kind of peaceful moment people frame in family photo albums. But calm moments sometimes hide the biggest storms. As evening arrived, the family settled into camp lot. Josh cast a fishing line into the water. Jessica relaxed on the sand watching their son play. Malachi giggled as sand slipped through his tiny fingers. To him, the beach was a giant playground. Eventually, the sun began to sink into the horizon. Jessica picked him up and kissed his warm cheek. But Malachi had other ideas. The toddler protested loudly about leaving the beach. After a long day, he eventually fell asleep from exhaustion. Jessica tucked him gently into the tent. The ocean waves hummed like a natural lullaby. Later that night, the parents sat beside a small campfire. They talked quietly about the future and their dreams. Jessica looked over at her sleeping son and smiled. Moments like that make parents feel like the world is perfectly balanced. But sometimes life flips the table overnight. In the early morning hours, Malachi woke up. The curious toddler quietly unzipped the tent, and then he wandered toward the place he loved most, the beach. Meanwhile, a fisherman named Gus Hutt started his morning routine. He walked along the shore toward his fishing spot. But on a random impulse, he changed direction. Instead of going straight, he walked slightly to the left. That tiny decision would save a life. Out on the water, something pale floated in the waves. Gus squinted to get a better look. At first, he thought it was just a doll drifting in the tide. Curious, he moved closer with his small boat. The object bobbed gently with the waves. It had pale skin and dark hair. It really looked like a toy. Gus leaned over and grabbed it carefully. When he lifted it from the water, something unbelievable happened. The doll made a tiny sound. Gus froze in shock, because this was no toy. It was a baby, and somehow he was still alive. Panic kicked in instantly. Gus turned the boat and rushed back to shore. The baby was cold and soaked but breathing. Within minutes, the parents were found. Jessica's scream echoed across the campsite. Relief and terror collided in one moment. Emergency crews arrived quickly afterward. Doctors later called the survival nothing short of a miracle. The tide had been pulling the child farther away. If Gus had walked his usual route, he would never have seen him. If he had looked away for even a second, the story would end differently. But fate sometimes works through ordinary people. One fisherman, one curious glance, one life saved. Malachi recovered quickly with no lasting injuries. The story spread across the internet like wildfire. Many called it luck. Others called it a miracle worth remembering.